We are live. This is a brand new podcast. I am Houston Howell, and I'm joined by my good friend Sean. You want me to say your full name? Do you
Welcome
care?
everybody. Yeah, we are Houston and Sean, best friends for life. I am 37. I met Houston when I was 8 years old on the playground. We were at school and we have known each other for 30 years, still good friends.
Yes. So we're now boring old adults now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yep, exactly. We have passed our prime. We have moved on to the latter part of life.
Yes. Yes, we have. Uh, Sean, my buddy Sean here we used to make videos together all the time back in high school, back in the day. And how would you describe the videos we used to make?
Well, I would say they were pretty random and pretty spontaneous. Kind of, we didn't want to necessarily put a lot of preparation into them.
No,
So we would just like,
we just
yeah,
would
put on,
would wing it and improvise.
we'd ring, yeah, like we'd get an idea like Super Thomas, where Houston put on kind of just, I think, regular clothes, except he was wearing like whitey tighties outside of the clothes and a cape.
And I was running
So
around Wilmington, Delaware, wearing a cape and screaming at people in cars. And
yeah,
that was a very popular video we did back in the day.
Houston
Um,
pranced into Wendy's in his Super Thomas gear, and there did happen to be four like girls around our age
hmm,
that were sitting with one of their moms, and
yes.
Houston just walks up and introduces himself. I'm like videoing it. He's like, "Whatever, you go out with me." And then one of them looks at him. She must have been like the ringleader, and she's like, "I would." And Super Thomas was like, "You would?" Not expecting. I don't know if Super Thomas had thought as far as like the answer, but at that point, Houston just sort of was like, "Oh, okay, well, bye,"
Got to
and
go because
then
I didn't expect anyone to say yes. I just expected them to be
leaves
annoyed.
Wendy's. I mean, it's just funny because I mean, it was a positive response. We should have like, followed up. Shown her, or Super Thomas Houston could have like, engaged and gotten her number and probably pursued a hot chick. But instead, Super Thomas just walks out of the rest Wendy's extremely uncomfortable. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, so Sean and I met in what grade were we in?
Well, I mean, Centerville is, I think it was all grades. I think you kind of naturally were the grade above me. So,
Yeah,
but
I guess I was kind of technically fourth grade. I was in fourth
yeah,
grade when we met. And
but I was technically in third grade, but we were in the same class because Centerville just kind of was a smorgasbord of kids with problems. It was.
yeah, it
And
was a school for kids with issues, I guess.
yeah, like learning problems, which we still are proud of that, I guess. Honestly, Centerville was my favorite school, which is kind of like, it was nice because there wasn't a lot of pressure, pretty easy. But then what would happen was like you'd leave Centerville and they'd just throw you to the wolves because it was all of a sudden you were back to like a lot of a lot of kids and classes and crap, and then like a lot of pressure to like succeed.
Yeah, I think Centerville it was a different kind of school. It was, kids with learning disabilities, kids with problems at home, kids with, behavior problems and other things. I had ADD, so I got sent there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it
Yeah,
was
it made
weird.
for a whole heap of interesting people. I mean, it really did. I mean, all
Yeah.
those kids, I can still remember a lot of the kids. and
Mhm.
a lot of their names and stuff, and they would make impressions because they were so unique. You
Yeah.
know, like Krista Sanfrani. I used to carpool with Krista, but she was sort of the outcast, which is sad. She had OCD, which her was her thing, you
Which I
know.
also have. I have OCD very bad,
Yeah,
actually.
I actually do. I actually do, but not like Krista's, because hers was like she would just some of it was like physical, like she would pick at her skin,
Yeah, she pick
things
at her
like that.
skin all the time and just rip off little pieces of skin on her hand.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't.
But she was interesting. She had a crush on me, which I didn't exactly like as an 8-year-old boy, you know, like I didn't want that. I actually don't know if she was, I don't know if she was there with Mrs. Watts though. Mrs. Watts was our first teacher. Old lady, did not like either one of us, you know.
No, she hated
Houston
us.
and I, yeah, exactly. Houston and I, from an early age, just kind of banded together, and in many different places, we just kind of made enemies with the authority. I mean, that was sort of our thing.
Yeah, the thing
But
is like
actually,
when Sean and I got together, when the two of us were together, it was like we were always, how would you describe it? Like we were always
like
trying, we always,
we sort of like pushing the limit or the boundaries of like
yes.
what was, and we were just really close. We were really tight, so we would
Yeah.
sort of feed off each other, I would say, is a
Mhm.
good way to put it.
Negative
So
attention. I remember when I was in
yeah.
elementary school, a teacher had a talk with my mom, and she said, Houston thrives off negative attention.
Mhm.
And I think when you and I got together, not all the time, I mean, we sometimes we were normal, but a lot of the times we were thriving off of negative attention. And that
Yeah.
carried over from, Centerville to when we got to high school and we started, to make crazy videos and we
Mhm.
were at that summer camp that we weren't invited back to because we were, I don't know, obnoxious.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, we definitely pushed the limit. We sort of liked the whole idea that we could like learn about ourselves through um sort of the rebellious way, you know, like
Mhm.
what we weren't allowed to do, well, let's do it, you know, which is not good. If you know, it's not great, but it's sort of what it is. And I think all kids do experience it on some level.
Mhm.
They have to sort of, you know, leave the nest, so they do sort of have to come to, you know themselves by what their parents like are not, like, to some
Mhm.
extent. I think it varies. We were just sort of an extreme.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, and everyone's parents are different. Um,
right.
but
Yeah, and actually ours were very different,
very
you
different
know.
sets of parents. And my mom was kind of wild and crazy back in the day.
She
Um,
was lax in terms of like rules,
yes.
where mine were very, very strict.
Mhm.
So we sort of met in the middle where it was like, okay. And I also think yeah, we just, I don't know, like I think all kids really should have a best friend. It helps them to discover themselves, like you know, who they are, and things like that. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
also too, I'm sort of introverted, and so and I also am high in loyalty, and so I think that has something to do. Like, if I find somebody that I sort of like feel like I'm compatible with in terms of friendship, like they're good enough. Like I don't have to like go out and find a ton of people that I'm gonna like be friends with, big groups of people. I was never really in cliques. I was not in a fraternity later on. Like it just really wasn't me. I liked finding interesting people more than I liked finding like a group. I was weird too, so like I wasn't really gonna be in a popular group. It
Yeah.
just wasn't, you know.
I was always kind of the same way. I've always had, a small group of friends, but they were always interesting friends. I never was, yeah, I was never in like the popular clique or whatever, that went
Right.
to the mall with like 10 friends or anything like that. I was always kind of an introvert in that way.
Yeah. And we found like kind of a home in a summer camp. That was a big part of our high school life because or maybe not high school, but it was
Yeah,
like
no, no,
like
it was high school, but it was, I think, I was like 15, no, I was
yeah,
14, 15, 16. Those ages we went to this summer camp. But the last year we were there, we were counselors in training. So we were like supposed to be training to become counselors, which I didn't give a
right,
shit about being a counselor. I
right.
just wanted to go and just, we were kind of crazy there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like to think of myself as like in charge of people at that age. I mean, I still don't really feel like I would like to be in charge of people, you know. I'm not that type, you know. I sort of
Yeah.
do better not in charge of people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that
exactly.
but like the counselor and training year really was also the year where we were sort of starting to do really sort of naughty things, right? So
Obnoxious.
like right, where sort of some of our stuff beforehand was more innocent.
Yeah, and I'm very surprised that they let us stay the whole summer. I always thought they
Right,
were going to kick us out of that camp, and they let
right,
us stay, but they didn't let us come back the year after.
right. We weren't invited back. I was sort of shunned in my parents' eyes for not being allowed back to the camp.
I took it as a badge of honor, but secretly I was very sad that we didn't get to go back the year after that. Because
But in many ways though, I mean, in terms of like the good things, I would say we were creative. We often would do things with music and video that I don't think kids really were not doing. YouTube was not around. So, homemade videos were sort of more rare, right? Like there was a whole show called America's Funniest Home Videos because they, I mean, they caught a few people making some funny videos. Where
Mhm.
now it's like every day you see it. People are on YouTube uploading their stuff all the time. Our phones will have like a way to record videos and photos that was not there.
Yeah, so this was like a few years before YouTube. That shows how old we are. But like, yeah, I was the only kid I knew of in my high school that had an editing system. I had a computer where I could edit videos.
Yeah,
And my
totally.
dad got it for me as a Christmas gift, and I was terrified of it. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And I think you were kind of the guy that was like, let's just start making videos, like stop thinking about it so much. And that's what we did in high
Well,
school.
you also, I would say, brainstormed a lot on your own. You figured a lot of stuff out because you had it like at your house.
Yeah.
So like you learned how to upload the videos and like start to crop them and edit them, make some like cut them.
Yeah. And like what you were saying, like this kids weren't doing that back then. Like
Right.
now every kid can edit on their phone. It was like a big deal. I was like, it was like a super, it was like a secret power that I had. I thought like I can edit videos and this kid
Right.
can't.
Right. Exactly. And I think just seeing each other, kind of like consistently through weekends where some kids they don't, that's like them and their family, and then they'll go, and they have a bunch of friends, they're talking to a ton of people. If you have like one friend who you're really getting to know, you sort of start to like go a little deeper into like what the friendship is and what the potential is to like create,
Mhm.
because I think that's what we were good at. We were good at creating.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean, we made, even music recording, we would record raps a lot.
yeah.
We got on a radio show when I was in high school. They offered kids to be DJs, and they
It was a
probably
high
should
school
not.
thing. So your high school had a radio station and teenagers that were in the school district could sign up to host a radio show. So Sean and I
Right,
had a radio show and we were both the DJs. And of course, we were trying to be wild and crazy. And they only
right,
let us play dance music. And it was all like early 90s dance music. It wasn't even new stuff.
The only thing we could select in terms of music was like corny dance.
Yeah.
It's just random that they only allowed that. Like, why didn't they allow AC/DC or something good, or something that would be also like catching to the audience? So we would do that because we had to, but then most of the time we'd want to just talk, or we had a section where we figured out how to put beats in it, and then we would just record our raps. That was a
Yeah.
part of
So
our show.
every night when we did our show, I think we did it once a week. We always had a freestyle, like a 5-minute freestyle where Sean and I would battle rap each other. And that was really cool. I wish I still had that stuff on tape. I really do.
And I will say that I still, in my long-term memory, have an entire rap. It was Houston's, because yours was actually, I thought, probably more creative of a rap. But it goes like this: you can't run and you can't hide. I'm rolling like rawhide. I'm spitting gangster raps at Sean denied, but my raps is high and loved worldwide. I'm dissing any fake MCs that step to me. They try their best, but they just went through me. And it gets gloomy as it goes through me. Because used to be, you was a fairy tale story. Now it changed to a horror movie that's gory. Because I'm deranged and psychopathic. Why you standing around with your whack chick, taking her on dates? She's so ugly, she cracks plates. Her ugliness causes curses across the states. I'm illmatic. I electrocute like static. Sean's whack at rap. He ain't who I hang out with. That's a turntable sound. Chop, chop. That's a sword chopping you down.
That's good.
Yeah, that was a good rap.
Yeah, Sean. We would do the freestyles, and then I was big into Howard Stern, and I thought we had a radio show, so let's be wild and crazy. And we would stage fights. Like one time we pretended like we were having an argument, and then I pretended to storm out and throw stuff around. And that's the kind of
crazy
stuff.
That I remember in the radio show is that they offered free Red Bull, which I had no idea what Red Bull was.
Yeah, Red Bull
and Houston was just sipping on it all show. I was like, what the heck is that? You're like, and
I was like, it got caffeine in it.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about.
Oh man, it was crazy. They just offered free Red Bull there. I doubt any place would give like high schoolers just free Red Bull anymore. But yeah.
So we did the radio show, and we would make videos, and we would give them out to people. That was how my video career sort of started. And over the years, you and I would, because we both moved, right?
Right.
So what happened was Sean and I, at the end of our high school careers, you ended up moving to Florida. Right. And I ended up going to Maine because I got sent to boarding school because, well, that's another story. But
well, our parents were like, they're getting in too much trouble, which is probably true. I mean, but at that point, at least for me, I had already sort of decided that I was just going to be a wild and crazy guy. And when I went to Florida,
wild and crazy guy.
That's just sort of what happened in Florida too. But I guess to some extent we were protected. I don't know. It's complex, right? Because I mean, my parents, they definitely wanted to help and protect. I don't know, like if going to Florida made any difference, but
yeah, they kind of separated us, and they put me all the way up north, and they put you all the way down south on the East Coast.
Right.
But anyway, but like you never really moved back to Delaware, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I always ended up, I lived all over the place after high school. I lived in California, New Mexico, blah, blah, blah. But I have trouble keeping track of where you lived. But we always still found time to get together and hang out a few times a year.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you can always talk on the phone, and
we talk on the phone all the time. But over the years,
the first year of college, I was in Orlando going to the university there, and Houston went to the same city. for
That's
another
right.
school there.
That's right.
Yeah, called Full Sail, which is a school about film editing,
Yes.
and it was a disaster. I mean,
It
it
was a
was. I
disaster.
mean,
I was
especially I think for Houston. I think Houston was just like, oh, I'm free here.
I'm free and I was not behaving and I was at this new school. I did not stay at that school very long, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of what happens is you kind of get stuck in like the apartments around schools, and you
mhm.
do nothing.
Yeah.
There is no incentive. You have no goals. It's just like party, right?
I was
Drugs,
partying, I was doing a lot
alcohol,
of
parties,
drugs,
girls.
and it was my first time being on my own. And yeah, there was just a lot of craziness going on. So I didn't last very long at that school, which I wish I could go back now and redo that point in my life.
Mhm.
But I can't. I
No, I
can't.
mean, well, I mean, we just kind of we're so old at this point. I mean, really. I mean, well, at least in my opinion, from
We're
that
still
day,
young. We're still young. But yeah, we were
we're still
so
young in
young.
terms of, I guess, yeah. I mean, we're still young in terms of like the perspective of all of my life. I'm still young, but in a sense, we have. I mean, I guess I don't know because especially in terms of like being successful in terms of videos and things like that. That's our culture sort of emphasizes like an early start and things like that. So in that way, I don't feel young anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And my old back is starting to hurt me nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, yeah.
No, not
I
yet.
get random pains. Like, why is my foot hurting? And things that
Yeah.
I don't really understand, and just kind of have to tolerate. Arthritis probably, and so, like probably in my foot or something.
I got arthritis in
But
my brain.
yeah.
But anyways, over the years, Sean and I we'd meet up somewhere, we'd always get together and we'd always record songs,
Mhm.
right? Like we've recorded a lot of songs together, and we went on a road trip somewhat recently. That's all documented. I made a little documentary about it. And
Right.
we drove from Philadelphia to Idaho.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, because my parents they had a car that they did not need anymore, and the reason they didn't need it is because they bought another car. So they
Mhm.
were like, "Do you want this car?" I said, "Sure." I mean, in my car was older; it had a lot more miles. I thought their car was newer. I should take this newer car.
Right. So we went on a road trip and I accompanied Sean and we recorded how many songs do we record, do you think? Like 4 or 5 songs on
Yeah,
the road?
quite a few, right? And
Quite a few.
especially the one that we really did there was Motivise,
Yeah, which
right? And
ended up being the masterpiece of the road trip.
it
And
was
Sean brought this big giant keyboard so he could make
right,
music with it. And we would get to the hotel room and you and I would write our raps. They were rap songs and they were singing. So I would write my lyrics very fast, like 5 minutes, write them down. And we recorded this one song called Motivise and stayed up, I think, till like 5 in the morning recording that.
right.
Does
And
that sound about
it
right?
was terrible. Even the recording of the instrumental was epic in itself because we were traveling across South Dakota. I guess our goal on traveling on I-90, which was a little bit higher north, was that we would stop, and for some reason we just picked one US monument that we were going to go see, which
Mhm.
was Mount Rush was Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
And
Yeah.
so we ended up in, so we traveled across South Dakota. We were at the town of Mount Rushmore. But what happened at like that last, probably as I was, and I had not let Houston drive 1 second,
Which I was
right?
fine
Like,
with
because,
secretly.
right. But it's just something about my OCD. Actually, all of this has to do with, I feel like, a big part of this trip was my OCD, but finally I let Houston drive at the last leg that we really had, which was towards Mount Rushmore.
Mhm.
And as I focused in and zoned out everything except for these instrumentals that I was putting to this song,
So let me put this in context.
was starting
So
to drive through a massive blizzard.
Sean was recording, he was recording the music for the song, but he was doing it on his phone.
Right.
Remember? So you were on the phone and you had your headphones in, and we were driving. Where were we at that point?
Yeah, I think we were just driving across South Dakota.
South Dakota, which is like nothingness. It's just nothingness. It's just you
Right.
look out and there's just fields, wheat fields or whatever, just pure nothingness. And Sean's has his headphones on and I'm driving and I couldn't listen to music because he needed to hear the music he was recording.
Yeah.
And is it safe to say that I had a mini meltdown?
Yeah, you got to the point, because what happened was a blizzard. I mean, we at some point entered a blizzard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
so,
hit a blizzard, and so we had to stay at the hotel instead of driving.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of which probably Houston drove probably 30 to hour into the blizzard, and we stopped. We stopped in the town of Mount Rushmore, but it was a blizzard, and the roads started to close, and we started to get in a serious doo-doo, and here I am just like zoned in, like, don't bother me.
Sean's got his headphones on and he's on his phone recording the song and he's obsessed with it. And we're driving into the middle of a blizzard. And I started having a panic attack because I just did. I had a panic attack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Houston was all alone with some like obsessed musician right next to him, not even giving a crap what was going on around him, which is me, like trying to figure out how I wanted the song's instrumentals to be. And Houston's just like freaking out. When we get to the town of Mount Rushmore, he looks at me and he's like, I need a drink. Houston has had problems, with alcohol and everything. So,
and I was sober at this point. I'm not supposed to drink because I'm an alcoholic. And so I was sober. I was completely sober on this road trip. And in my head, I was like, I need a drink.
Right. So it was like, oh crap. When he said that, I was like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. We figured out a place to stay, and that was the recording of the vocals, right? So when we got to this place, that we realized we had to spend the night in this town. When we got there, we stayed up all night after having this horrific experience, not really figuring out what the heck we were about to do, but more just like trying to lay down tracks.
Yes.
For like finishing the song, because that's what we are. Like we're impulsive, and like if we're engaged in videos or music or whatever, that sort of takes control.
Yeah, I got to say this, out of all the people I've known in my life, aside from my friend Dave, who also used to be into film, you and I, when we get together, we just have this immediate creative chemistry. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like there's no sitting around like, oh, I don't know what to write about. I don't know. I can't come up with any music. It's like just instant. The second you and I get together and we record those songs, and it's like we can almost read each other's minds. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Like I would say there are pluses and minuses of not preparing too much. I think that is a big plus, is that
yes.
If we just do things will come into fruition, and
yes,
we'll actually have we'll have a product, we'll have something that we can share with people,
And that song is called Motivize. It's on my YouTube channel. And see, when Sean was recording the song in the car, he had his headphones on. I couldn't hear what he was doing, and that was making me even crazier. And then he finally played me the music, and I was like, you did all of this just on your phone? It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and we also, around that point in the trip, also figured out that auto-tune was an option on the on the device. So we were kind of messing around with auto-tune too on Motivize, which was kind of fun. And even just just the fact that we hadn't really prepared, it was a really funny experience because
Yes.
everything we were kind of laying down, I was like, yeah, that's really good and funny. Let's just keep it, even though it's just
Yeah,
random.
we recorded just really fast. So like we didn't worry too much. We were just like, oh, just write it really fast and let's get the vocals done.
Yeah, I mean, one verse, I think you just were like, let's just record it. And then you
Yes.
just did the verse without even any sort of preparation. It was just like, this verse is going to be thrown in there too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the thing is telling me that we have 4 minutes
Yeah, I'm
left
watching the
before.
countdown too. Yeah.
Okay.
Is you're
Okay.
saying 4? I'm saying 5.5.
5.5. Yeah. So,
Okay. So yeah,
but
so we hope you guys like this first episode. Whoever gets to see it, we just know you're special because hopefully we'll make some of these for you and
yeah.
and
And
bring
I'm
a good
thinking
show. We
like
kind of
we kind of did wing this one, but like, we kind of went into like how we met and like our videos and the music we make. But like next time, who knows what we'll talk about? We'll just
yeah,
talk
and
about life.
also bring a guest on. Like
Yes, we can
we'll
bring
get
guests.
people. We'll feed off their energy and their creativity. I mean, really, to be quite honest, the only interesting thing in life will be what you create. And I'm talking to you, kids. Yeah, I mean, other
Yes.
than that, it's always going to be pretty standard, pretty normal, pretty day by day. That's how you're gonna experience your life. But in order to really take it to the next level and find enjoyment, I do think creativity, sharing experiences, that's something that's pretty important.
Yes. And Sean has always been my favorite person to collaborate with. And I plan on making more songs and more videos with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
think
we'll do this
there's so much
podcast.
more.
This podcast will we're kind of winging it. We're just going to figure this out and see
Just
where it
winging it.
goes. Yeah.
I will say, in terms of music and how and where it has gone, there is only room for improvement. We can only kind of go up.
Yes.
We can go back decades and find kind of good stuff, but where we're at now, I feel like music is kind of in a struggling point.
Mhm.
So there's going to need to be some sort of heroic or some sort of voice from the dust, that's not necessarily your typical what you are hearing right now in 2024. So
Yes, exactly. We're going to save music is what you're saying. It could be
yeah,
us.
absolutely. I mean, so many people, they don't know what to do at this point, but let's figure out a new view of it, like a new alternative
Mhm.
to what there is. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
radios don't know what to do either. They're bringing bands back because they can't find any new ones, I feel like, and things like that, You
Rock
could be
music
like,
is kind of like stagnant. I mean, obviously hip hop is still as popular as ever, dance music, pop music, but rock, there haven't been any great rock bands lately.
yeah, exactly. And even rap, I feel like has changed drastically, into
Yeah, it's
and it's not, there's no more story.
no.
The people aren't interesting,
Yeah.
but you go back to like when we were growing up, that was when rap was like being invented, and
I
there was
like
just
I
so much
like rap.
stuff.
I mean, there's some new stuff out that I do like, but I like wordsmiths, like Nas, Biggie, Eminem,
Yeah,
words, people
right.
that put time into putting the words together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's me. That's me personally. Maybe I'm just out of touch.
No, but I mean, there is a lot that rap can offer, but I don't
Mhm.
think it is
The new
offering
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, so many rappers have gotten so into auto tune that it seems to have killed, like, just the ingenuity, or like the yeah, like the work that went into it, or the creativity,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Well, I guess we should sign off. I think this went pretty good. I enjoyed
Yeah, me
this
too.
doing this, and Any last words?
No, I am good. Until next time.
Until next time, folks.
Peace.